What Happens When You Awake the Ancients? The Curse of the Ancients by Crawford. The tracks in the snow stopped a good 10 feet in front of the porch, too far to jump the distance to the top of the steps. Not that it mattered anyway, because the snow on the porch showed no tracks either. Hannah Riker stopped everyone on her team with a gesture. She dropped her first name a long time back and everyone respected it except McCoy. Not out of contempt or rebellion, but because Melissa thought Riker's soft side still hid in there somewhere. Melissa McCoy was a hopeless optimist. Riker kneeled inspecting the only two tracks, as if she hoped to glean some clue they hadn't before. Someone in soft shoes with no treads had stood in the calf-deep snow. Not like they walked to that point, but appeared there. The door to the house hung ajar. Enough time passed, snow crept in through the opening. The wind rattled a loose shutter on the second floor of the house. Spring might be stirring below in the States, but night drew out across Alaska, snow and darkness still in command. It held everything now, unrelenting for at least another 10 hours.
Any signs something jumped to the roof?
She asked.
Nope, same bullshit as the other two,
Neville said from over her shoulder. Older for Project Threshold and almost 2 decades older than the rest of them, Riker would have still put money on Neville in a fight. Lean but solid, he stood poised, his hand on one of his pistols. One of Neville's 2 Newfoundlands growled in response. It didn't like the place either. All black, Skoll stayed at Neville's side. Macahom shook the snow off his rich brown coat, waiting for a command. Riker had seen them go after a bear without fear. She wondered if they considered humans stupid for wading into bad places. Melissa McCoy stood a head shorter than Riker, her gloved hands wrapped around a staff and her eyes closed underneath her brown leather hat. She took several breaths, the air pluming in front of her with each exhale.
Same as before,
She finally said, opening her eyes.
we're too late. It's already done.
Call command.
Riker ordered.
Give us 20 to scout before Project Threshold cordons off the house and the surrounding area. I want to get a look.
Toddy, the 4th member of their team, towered a lot over 6 feet. He didn't wear hats, even against the wind. His braided ponytail slunk over his shoulder. His goatee and heavy eyebrows reminded Riker of a maniacal hippie, Abe Lincoln. He hung back, his long rifle slung over his shoulder.
Looks like it entered through the front door. Probably ended the same way too.
Riker nodded from beneath her own bootlegger hat, trying to cut the wind. She tapped a stud on the side of her goggles. Her visor shimmered, and she saw clearly in the dark.
We go in. Neville, you and McCoy work around to the back. Toddy, you're with me.
Riker stepped around the track and marched to the front door. She didn't draw a pistol because she believed McCoy's assessment. 3 houses in the last 3 nights, all showing a single set of tracks out front, and the same outcome each time. They found the owners murdered inside, the anomaly here being the open front door. Project Threshold sent her team in after the first murder. Riker heard Toddy's boots clunk on the porch boards. She almost told him to quiet, but her instincts told her the same thing. Anyone inside was dead, the attacker gone. The door lock and frame looked intact. Snow stretched across the floor inside, melted a few steps in. Her enhanced vision showed her a circular floor pattern centered around a staircase going up to the 2nd level. Coats hung on pegs inside the door. The kitchen to her right looked used, but showed nothing out of place. A rocker sat in the room on her left, along with a sofa and a high-backed chair. No signs of struggles or indications of a fight showed themselves. Like the other 2.
You want to meet the others at the back door or go upstairs?
She asked Toddy.
I'll get Neville and Melissa unless you want me to go up.
I'm good, stay alert.
The boards creaked with every step, and normally Riker would have cussed at the noise. But her instincts told her the killer left some time ago. The stairs led left and up to a landing, then up another 6 steps to a hallway. 4 doors lay before her, 2 on the left, 1 right, and the last straight back. All 4 doors stood ajar. She drew one of her Browning pistols, more out of habit than fear, but she clicked off the safety. Gut instinct didn't mean stupid. She checked the first door on her left. A kid's room, probably a girl's based on the plethora of stuffed animals and posters on the walls. Tapping a stud on her goggles for infrared, she saw no heat signatures. She did spot residual bare footprints on the floor. Someone small had left the room starting at the bed. Riker's gut twisted. Gliding her eyes over the bed and the decorations on the walls, images of her sister, Sarah, threatened her sanity. She locked it down and shut out memories of her before they could infest her thoughts. Riker concentrated on the footprints. Closing the door, she followed faint thermal hits. Another set joined them from the door on Riker's right. Slightly larger than the first set, they both headed downstairs.
Toddy,
She said into her shoulder mic.
Yeah,
2 small sets of bare footprints heading downstairs. Kid-sized, probably an hour old or more. Be on the lookout.
Riker checked the door on the other side. Another kid's room. A shirt lay on the floor alongside a hockey stick. The bed covers lay in a mess, shoved down and half hanging off the side. She picked up a slight heat trace from the bed and more footprints. These deviated before the door, however. The kid had veered toward a dresser, but she saw no heat traces on the drawer handles. He'd grabbed something.
Toddy, one of the kids may have a weapon. Careful.
got it.
Riker headed to the next door further up the hall. No heat traces showed on the floor leading to the room, none leaving, none entering. The room measured longer than the other two, probably twice as much square footage. From the hall she spied another dresser, this one larger and more ornate in the wood carving. Riker edged over the threshold and noticed 2 things immediately. 2 bodies, one on the bed and one laying on the floor near the back wall and across from the window. The second detail bothered her. A lot. Neither of the bodies radiated heat, not even a trace. She'd seen the remnants of the footprints and even a slight heat variation from the children's rooms, but not here. Everything shone black. Both lay prone. A man's body draped across the bed, his arms splayed out behind his head. Riker debated her next move, hemmed, and finally clicked a stud on her goggles, banishing the infrared. She flipped a switch on the wall and winced at the overhead light flooding the room. The man stared upwards, eyes wide, his mouth open. Riker saw no marks on him, no blood, and no other signs of how he died, like the others. A woman lay on the floor near a closet, face down. Her arms stretched in front of her, suggesting someone or something came up on her as she tried to crawl away. She saw no immediate cause of death on the woman either. Except Riker knew they'd find strange marks on both of them, like the imprints of fingers. Black marks. Threshold's coroner couldn't explain other than they looked like electrical burns. Stepping forward, Riker pulled down the collar of the man's bedshirt. Sure enough, she found black oval spots like fingertips along his collarbone. Pulling down a little further, she spied more.
Fuck.
She turned to the woman, her long brown hair scattered over her shoulders and the back of her head. Riker stared but decided not to inspect her. She had no doubts about marks on her too. Something sucked the life out of them. Command didn't have any answers either.
Boss,
Toddy called through the mic.
Report.
got him.
He said.
2 kids, they're wedged under a table. The boy's got a hunting knife. Melissa's trying to talk to him.
On my way.
Any bodies?
Not in front of the kids, Toddy.
Riker backed out, shutting off the light. Flicking the infrared back on, she scanned the rest of the room. No footprints entered or left the room. She saw no heat signatures around the window. No other exits showed themselves, no clues about the assailant. The room devoid of heat. Turning into the hallway, she saw no indications anyone entered from up the hall via the last door. Riker headed downstairs, chastising herself for not turning on infrared when she'd first entered. She followed the small footprints to the main level. First they veered toward the front door, but then doubled back along their path. She found McCoy kneeling on the floor in a room beyond the front door and on the other side of the stairway. It looked like a dining room. A china cabinet stood against the corner. Nothing looked broken or out of place.
Hey, it's okay.
McCoy said.
You're safe.
Neither of the kids moved. Kneeling, Riker flipped over to night vision and saw them. A girl, maybe 7, dressed in a patterned nightgown, her arms in a death hold around the table's pedestal base. The boy, maybe 3 years older, hugged up against the other side, one arm firmly wrapped around the pillar, a big knife in his other hand, pointing it McCoy's way. Her gut tightened.
We're not going to hurt you.
McCoy told them.
We're like the police. We're here to keep you safe. I'm going to have my partner flip on the lights. okay?
Time spilled until the boy finally nodded. Riker shut down her goggles before Neville hit the switch. Both of the kids jumped when the light filled the room. Slowly, the boy lowered the knife.
Are you hurt?
McCoy asked. The dark-haired boy shook his head.
Is it gone?
Is what gone, hon?
The bad thing.
The girl eyed Riker, her face sprawled with fear. Riker couldn't tell if she was about to cry or try to run. She sat poised for either.
It's okay.
Riker tried.
We're the good guys. We'll protect you.
The girl only stared, her hair straggly on her shoulders.
What's the bad thing?
McCoy asked. The boy shook his head.
It's cold.
Did you see it?
He shook his head.
I heard Dad yell.
And he looked down. Mom, too.
I know, it'll be okay. What was cold?
The bad thing.
He repeated.
It walked by my door. It was cold like a blizzard.
McCoy made eye contact, but Riker only shook her head.
I'm calling it in.
She told her. Riker faked a smile to the girl and backed out of the room. The girl didn't take her eyes off her.
Command.
What's the story?
2 casualties.
She said in the hallway.
2 children still alive. Support can move in now.
On our way.
Riker put her back to a wall, wrapping her arms around herself. She clenched her teeth, breathing through her nose. As a girl, she used to focus on a blue ball to reel in the fear and the pain. As an adult, she shifted from the ball to her rifle, a Marlin 1895 liver action. She ran through the specs. In her mind, she worked on how to dismantle and clean it, the different types of shells Project Threshold supplied her with. It helped push out the memories of her parents' screams while she and Sarah hid in the cellar. The faces of the 2 kids hung in the back of her head, but she forced them out. Toddy appeared around the corner.
You okay?
Fine. What?
What the hell's going on, boss?
He whispered. Riker pushed off from the wall, checking her sidearms.
Our kind of stuff. We need a connection on these 3. They know each other, but they've got something else between them. We need to find out if there are others. Pronto.
3 in 3 days, not a coincidence.
Nope.
And the higher-ups don't have anything?
They called us in after the first murder because of the Black Prince. It doesn't match anything in Threshold's databases. I talked to Kunasi on the way out. Something brand new.
Toddy rattled off a string of curses.
In all the years this organization has been running, you'd think we'd go in against something Threshold's faced before.
Alaska's a big place, Toddy. Lots of stuff, new and old.
What about the kids?
Toddy asked.
We'll see if they have any other relatives and do what we can. I hate it when kids get caught up in this shit.
Me too.
Do me a favor and sweep for more footprints. Anything coming in from other directions, leaving. Fuck, I don't know.
Toddy nodded.
Me and Neville will check it out. You see anything upstairs?
The only heat traces originated from the kids. What does that tell you?
Why would something leave footprints in the snow and then just disappear?
He asked.
It makes no goddamn sense.
Neither does the way they died, Toddy. The parents had no heat left in them. It's like something sucked it out.
Remind me again why we do this job.
Riker gestured toward the table.
Them.
Garrett Bigsby,
Neville read from his screen.
37, married and father of 2. Construction and hunting to make ends meet. Friends with Albert Fendler, also 37. They went to school together.
And our third,
Riker said.
Cheney McMasters, 39, married but no kids. He was the first.
Right. They were all hunting buddies. I hope to God McCoy and Toddy get some more info with the canvas. They got into something. I don't know, pissed something off.
It feels bad, but something else too.
Riker said.
I don't know.
Her instinct wasn't like McCoy's abilities. She got feelings, nudges as she liked to call them. Her instincts told her the 3 men stepped into something bad, and whatever killed them hunted them down like Neville suggested. Her instinct also told her they weren't the only 3.
I got the report on the kids.
Neville said.
The boy, Randall, told them his dad went hunting all the time. Of course, it wasn't always with the same people.
He give them any more details on what broke into their house?
Riker asked.
Nope. Kept talking about the cold. Apparently, the kid felt the temp drop when it entered. The girl hasn't said a damn word.
I don't suppose Randall knew about anything strange that might have happened to his dad. I don't know, like running into anything weird.
They asked him about his dad's other friends. He talked about an Uncle Joe, so they're tracking him down.
Good. I've run over every file Command gave us. The MO is the same. All 3 have those black fingerprints on them, and the coroner's report said the cause of death was similar to electrocution, but not quite. Of the 3, 2 had spouses, and both of the women were found in the same room, also deceased. Except whatever it is, it spared the kids.
I don't know.
Neville said.
Maybe it was just after the men and the women got in the way. Seems like the kids snuck out and hid.
Yeah, could be. It wasn't directed at the entire family then, so it's something specific to the men, unless the women are somehow involved too. Did the second guy have kids?
He's divorced. 3 kids. They live south with the ex. They're fine.
So it's not related to the family.
Riker reasoned.
It's something tying directly to them. That's something. An aunt and uncle are taking the kids in?
Yeah. Live near Anchorage. Command's going to let them in to gather their things once we're done.
Neville snorted.
Officially, a rogue grizzly killed them, got inside and attacked the couple. The cleanser spent some time with the kids.
For the best. A grizzly is a lot better memory than some creepy-ass cold thing. That would give me nightmares.
Yeah, if we could figure out.
Riker's phone rang, and she took the call.
Yeah? Okay,
And she mouthed McCoy at Neville.
great. Punch the address into my GPS and we'll meet you there.
She paused again, then started nodding.
Okay, everyone armor up just in case. See you in an hour.
Neville started stacking the papers.
They found him. Joseph Morgan. Command's going to let us do the questioning and be on standby.
I hope he has some answers.
They drove in silence the entire trek to the house. The snow continued coming down, the wind shoving against Neville's Humvee. Joe Morgan lived on an acreage, and they followed a half-mile-long driveway to reach his cabin. 2 stories and looking like newer construction, he seemed to be doing well, whatever he did for a living. Riker held a report to tell her what for the past 10 years, but she decided she wanted to go from scratch. She often got a better feel off someone by letting them talk. McCoy and Tottie's truck pulled in behind them, heading up the snow-covered driveway. Neville pulled up next to a newer-looking pickup truck. Neither McCoy nor Toddy wore the heavy body armor Project Threshold issued to everyone. Made of different alloys, it could stop high-caliber rounds from penetrating. It still hurt, but big shells wouldn't rip your arm off. She almost chastised them, but realized she wasn't wearing her suit either. A few years back, Project Threshold's R&D team came up with a resin compound that stretched, behaved, and felt a lot like a thin scuba suit, except the threads held together in such a way that it was capable of stopping small caliber rounds, knives and claws, or teeth. Because of the patterns in the material, troopers thought it looked like a thick spider's web, and people started referring to the suits as spiderweave. Riker wore one most of the time while they were on mission. The others didn't like the heavier body armor either, but they were smart enough to wear the spiderweave, and she let it drop. McCoy met Riker as she got out.
What's up?
McCoy held up a leather-bound book. It was more of a journal, her side project.
I might have a connection, maybe.
To this?
Riker asked dubiously.
On what are they called again?
The Ancients. I don't have a better word for them, and they've never been named.
Wait a minute.
Toddy said.
What the hell are you 2 talking about, and how come nobody told me? Neville, you know about this stuff too?
Not me. It's brand new info.
Oh, stop, you 2.
McCoy said.
I've been researching that lost tribe supposedly living in Alaska before the time of humanity. I ran across 4 stories last year, and I've really just started looking. Quincy and Janice uncovered a few more. I only mentioned it to Hannah a few weeks back. I barely know anything. Hannah, they were around before the indigenous people. It's so damn hard, because there are only spotty stories in the lore on them. It's like they came from a time when the Earth was primordial.
You mean like the time of the dinosaurs?
Toddy asked.
I don't know. Most of the stories I've listened to talk about them like they're spirits or beings who lived here in the beginning, when humanity was still living in caves, maybe earlier. No one knows exactly what they were, but they originated up here.
Originated as in were born here?
It's more like they showed up. According to the stories, they were some kind of gods, and they came down to straighten out the world. like it was chaos until they arrived.
What's that have to do with our dead people?
There's talk of all kinds of death gods with the ancients. Some were killable, and a couple of them could only be imprisoned. However, there were also beings who watched over the dead. They protected places and things.
You think these guys went somewhere and violated some consecrated ground or something?
I don't know. Most of the stuff is purely oral tradition. I've been writing the stories down, but it's just pieces and bits of legends. One of the stories talked about watchers who hunted their victims and killed by marking them.
Riker's eyebrows raised.
Like burned fingerprints.
I don't have any details, just the story, but it seems a little coincidental.
Can you dig up any more?
I'm meeting with tribal leaders where I can, but a lot of this stuff is
And she smiled.
ancient.
Figures, damn it. It would be nice to have a playbook for some of this shit. Henry needs to get a team up here and start in with the R and to D.
I know, there's a lot more spirit energy up here than in the States.
All right, keep digging into this. If you need to pull some time away from the team to find out more about these ancients, do it. I'll bring in backups. This feels important.
Neville's dogs stayed in the back of the truck. Riker led them to the front door. She knocked, not sure what to expect. Lights glowed behind pulled shades, and she faintly heard TV voices in the background. Riker heard footsteps. Porch light popped on, and the door opened. A man matching Joe's description answered the door in a flannel shirt, the traditional full-faced beard and a receding brown hairline defining his face. Confusion spread across his features as he peered down at Riker through the screen door.
Hi, can I help you?
We're investigating the death of your brother and 2 others. Can we talk to you?
You police?
No, another agency. We've got their reports, but there are strange details, and my team and I would like to talk to you.
Another agency? Like the FBI?
Something like that. Look, we're afraid you might be the next target.
Joe's face stayed blank, but she saw a lot going on behind his eyes.
We didn't do anything wrong.
I'm not saying you did. Can I ask what the police told you about your brother and his wife?
They said a grizzly bear got in and chewed them up. I haven't been to the house. Thank God Randall and Chloe got out. They're gonna stay with my sister because we've already got 3 kids and not a lot of room. I haven't seen the bodies, but I don't think I want to.
There are details to the case the general public isn't privy to, but we think there's more going on.
Joe stared at her, his eyes drifting to the others.
Okay, look, we were out hunting, that's all.
Riker frowned.
Hunting? What's that got to do with the deaths?
Come inside.
He opened the door and led Riker and the others down a hall to a family room. A fire crackled in its hearth. A robust redhead and 3 kids spread out on the floor playing a board game.
Hey hon, these people are here to talk about Garrett and the others. You want to take the kids to watch a movie?
She eyed them too, but traded a nervous look with Joe. Riker was used to not being welcome. People assumed they were law enforcement, and when they came knocking, it usually meant someone was in trouble.
Come on!
The woman said.
We can finish the game in a few minutes. Your father needs to talk to these people. We'll make cocoa.
The kids didn't say a word but followed her out, their eyes scouring Riker and the team. Joe gestured toward an overstuffed chair and a couch. He didn't wait for them to get settled, though.
Did Garrett and Margie get attacked by a bear or not?
Not. What can you tell us about his friend Albert?
Albie, what about him? He got chewed by wolves.
And Joe paused, as if he suddenly started putting the pieces together.
But Cheney died in his sleep. It's what they told me. They didn't though, did they?
Riker sat in the chair. McCoy found a seat on the sofa with Neville, but Toddy leaned against a wall, his rifle in the truck, the thing stretched almost to his height.
No, they all died the same way. Some kind of electrical shock.
What about Margie?
The same. Can I ask about your hunting trip? Was there something that happened while you were out?
Look, it wasn't anyone's property. It was abandoned.
What was abandoned?
Toddy asked.
We were out past the ridge. Cheney told us caribou had been spotted out there, and we went to take a look. We camped 2 nights, and on the 2nd day we spotted a cave, a house or fortress nestled back into the side of a hill. The entrance was covered by erosion. Albie spotted the hole, and we decided to check it out.
McCoy stirred.
Can you show me on a map?
I can give you a rough idea. It's 2 days east of here. along the south side of the ridge. Do you know the area?
McCoy traded a look with Riker,
I know the ridge a bit. Do you have a map? Wait,
and she popped open her bag.
Tell us about this fortress.
Neville asked.
Don't know. We dug out the entrance and decided to look around. Garrett had 2 badass flashlights. We thought it was a mine shaft at first, but it was a building set into the hill. A stone tunnel wound back a long way, opening up into a big room.
What did you find there?
Riker asked.
Some kind of home, but it looked abandoned. Everything was old and cut from stone.
And he pursed his lips.
We found weird shapes and symbols set into the walls. They were made out of platinum.
Riker frowned.
What do you know about platinum?
Not much, until recently.
what were the symbols?
McCoy asked.
Can you draw them? How many? Are they still there?
You took them, didn't you?
Riker asked.
It wasn't illegal,
Joe said.
That place isn't on anyone's property. Whoever lived there was dead and gone.
It still might be under state jurisdiction. What did you take?
Joe soured.
I don't know if I should say anything else without a lawyer.
Forget the laws.
McCoy said,
What did the symbols look like? Here.
and she pulled out a rolled-up pad. Spreading it out on a coffee table, she tapped a button, and a screen flickered to life on the soft tablet. The screen showed a map of the area, including the ridge.
Show me where you were. It's touchscreen so you can expand the map with your fingers. I need to know where this place is.
What is it?
Joe asked.
We figured it was some old Indian home.
It might be a lot older.
McCoy said. He knelt and leaned over to squint at the screen. Playing with the sizing, he scrolled through, increasing the size.
It was around here somewhere.
He said, pointing. McCoy crowded in next to him.
Before the pass or after?
After. Yeah, probably an hour past it, maybe a little more.
How high up?
We were walking the flatlands and Albie just caught sight of it. He had damned eagle eyes or we'd have walked by it. Maybe 50 feet up the hill. There weren't any trees around it.
McCoy studied the map.
You're sure it was here?
Pretty close. I could probably find it again. We had plans to go back out there until this started.
What did you bring back?
Riker asked.
We pried some of the symbols out of the walls. Albie knew it was some kind of precious ore. He thought it was platinum from the color.
Can I see what you have?
McCoy asked. The excitement glinted in her eyes.
We sold it to a friend of Cheney's. He was going to melt them down and sell the platinum.
To whom?
And McCoy's excitement shifted to ire.
Cheney's friend in Fairbanks. I don't know his name.
McCoy cussed, a rarity for her.
We need to find these things, Hannah. Like now? This may be a lead.
We will. As soon as we're done here, we'll have Treshold send people there. We have to solve this first, though.
I know, but Hannah, this could be huge.
I know, just stay with me.
And Riker turned back to Joe.
How much did you get for the stuff?
A bunch. I didn't know it, but platinum is expensive too.
Yeah, and each of you took some of it out of there?
Joe nodded.
We all pried the symbols from off the walls and decided to split it 4 ways. Cheney handled it and gave us our cuts.
Cheney was the second one to die.
Toddy said.
Yes, Albert died first.
Neville said.
Do you think there's an order to it?
I don't know.
Riker answered.
Joe, who dug out the first piece?
His eyes unfocused toward the hearth.
Cheney noticed them, but it might have been Albie who pulled his knife and wedged the first symbol out. They were solid pieces. We popped them out one at a time.
How many?
McCoy asked.
10. They were all over the walls, but the 10 were within easy reach. We planned to go back for the rest after we got our shares.
How were they placed on the walls?
Joe shook his head.
I don't know. They were higher and lower on the walls all around the room.
Damn. I need to find that place.
McCoy said.
I know.
Riker said.
We will. Let's start by keeping him alive first, okay?
McCoy looked him over.
Okay, sorry, it's just... This is something different, Hannah. This could be connected to the ancients.
Those old creepy things you were going on about?
Toddy asked.
Later.
Riker said.
Joe, what can you tell me about Albert and the others? Did the rest of you talk after Albert died?
Sure. We got together and drank beers in his honor. Garrett was all broken up over Albie. They'd been friends since school. They said he got attacked by wolves, which is odd. Usually, they don't go after people unless they're desperate.
But did you and Garrett think there was anything odd?
We didn't think anything of it until Cheney died.
He replied.
Awful big odds for 2 of us to die so soon. Cheney was as healthy as they come. He smoked and he could hold his liquor, but he was in good shape. We talked about a connection, but it's like Indian legends. I don't believe in curses and nonsense. None of that crap is real, is it?
Melissa,
Riker said.
is there anything in your stories about stone homes set into hills or platinum symbols?
Most of the stuff I have only references beings and gods and demons. I told you I don't have a lot of details.
What about these protectors? Do you know anything more about them?
They have a name, the Huska. They're some kind of gods. They deal out justice to those who violate the covenants.
What covenants?
Riker asked. McCoy shrugged.
No info on those yet.
What are these things?
Joe asked.
Is something after us?
Joe,
Riker asked.
something killed your brother and your friends. We found strange marks on all three of them, so we believe the murders are connected. We also think you're the next target.
What about Jenny and the kids?
Garrett's 2 kids survived unharmed. We think Garrett's wife was with him when whatever happened started. I don't think it necessarily intended to kill her too.
Are you saying some legend is coming after us? Some kind of dark god or Native American spirit?
We don't know. We're only following in its wake. We haven't actually seen any of the killings as they happened.
Fuck. What do I do?
Joe looked at McCoy.
Can I protect myself against these things? Those Huska?
I know very little about them,
McCoy said.
except they try to exact justice for violations, but I don't even have a list of the covenants.
His eyes widened.
Is that what we did? Fuck. I told Cheney we shouldn't touch anything, but then Albie went started digging at one. Do guns hurt them?
McCoy started to answer, but loud growls erupted from outside. Neville perked up.
Skull and Macahome.
He said, heading for the window. McCoy shivered.
There's something here.
There's someone standing outside in the snow.
Neville reported. Riker joined him. Peeking out the window, she saw a silhouette in the front yard, standing with its arms at its sides. She saw a long cloak rolling off its shoulders and the tips furled in the wind. Dark, almost like a solid shadow, she couldn't see its face or any real details.
What the fuck is it doing?
Don't know, but Skull nor Macahome want anything to do with it. They're still in the truck. If it was a normal person, they'd have cornered him or at least be circling. You want me to open the door?
Nope. We'll head out the back and see if we can get to a vehicle.
Riker turned to Joe.
Keep your wife in the back room and grab a coat. We're getting out of here.
I still have most of the money left. Can I just give it back?
I don't think these things are like loan sharks.
McCoy said.
Hannah, I don't know if I can protect us from these things. They're strong.
Is there more than one?
Riker asked.
Yeah, sort of. It's like it's one overriding energy, but it's more. I don't exactly know.
What do I do?
Joe called out.
Is it after me?
Get your coat. Tell your wife you're leaving for a while and we'll see if we can get you out.
Riker said.
Oh, shit.
Neville blurted.
It's gone.
A wind fanned the fire in the hearth and cold swept into the room. The temperature dropped and ice formed on the inside of the windows. Riker watched the fire literally die in front of them, sucking down into the logs until it disappeared. The light dwindled and smoke withered into the air. The electricity failed, throwing them into darkness. Riker pulled a light and a pistol, spraying the beam across the room. She shuddered as the temperature continued plummeting. She felt like she'd just stepped outside into the wilds after being under a blanket.
Damn.
Toddy yelled, drawing 2 pistols. A human shape slowly formed in the middle of the living room. It shone dark even in the beam of Riker's light, reminding her of the shadow people they encountered in the observatory in Juneau 2 years back. It solidified in front of them, only a few paces from Joe. Neville drew a pistol, stepped up, and shot it at the temple. The dark head jerked sideways, but straightened and turned toward him. It shifted on its feet, completely silent, and raised its arms toward Neville.
Look out!
Riker cried. She had her own pistol and fired her Browning into its body.
Don't let it touch you.
She called out, unloading 3 shells into it. The black shape reacted to each bullet strike, but it didn't fall. It continued toward Neville as he backed away. He shot it twice in the head, but it only flinched and continued walking. Neville sidled around the overstuffed chair and the shape mirrored his movements, edging around after him. Toddy stepped forward and put his foot into the chair, shoving it into the silhouette. It stumbled back 2 steps, righted itself, and paused. Shifting to face them, it stood silent, looking like a 3-dimensional shadow.
What do you want?
Riker asked. Neville got to Riker's side, and all 3 aimed their pistols at its head. Only McCoy got behind the couch, her hands wrapped around a talisman and staff, her lips quietly mumbling. The temperature drained out of the room and wind stole its way in. The figure turned back toward Joe and resumed walking.
Look out.
McCoy yelled. Riker caught movement and pulled back just in time. A dark figure stood just behind her, reaching with its hands. Riker ducked away from it, but then another appeared. Toddy yelled, pulling away as a 4th black being got a hand on his shoulder. He reacted as if he'd been burned, his arms slumping to his side and his fingers losing hold on the gun. As tall as Toddy was, he nimbly ducked away, firing into his attacker's face. It stopped the entity for a moment, giving Toddy time to reach McCoy.
Get to me!
McCoy ordered. 2 of the entities stepped toward Riker and Neville.
We're kinda blocked here.
Neville got out. Riker darted toward Joe in the original shadow. It backed him toward a wall, his hands swiping at it. The dark being reached out with its hands, trying to grab him, but Riker stepped up, unloading the rest of her rounds into the thing. She put her shoulder into Joe's and yelled,
Beat it, out the back.
He stumbled around the couch and down the hall. The other shades turned in Joe's direction. Riker got in behind Joe, pushing him down the hall.
Get the trucks ready.
Neville waited for the 2 to back off and sprinted for the door. McCoy placed a hand on Toddy's back.
Stay close. I don't think they can see us if we don't directly confront them.
My arm's numb.
He said.
It barely touched me and sucked the life out of it.
Stay still!
Riker watched 2 of the shades fade away as she retreated down the hall after Joe. She pulled her 2nd Browning pistol. The other 2 dark figures walked after them.
Is there a back door?
Riker called.
Yeah, but what about Jenny and the kids?
Tell them to stay down and don't get in their way.
Joe rushed into the back room.
Jenny, keep the kids safe.
What's going on?
She asked, grabbing at their youngest.
Stay down and don't interfere.
Riker told her.
We'll try to keep him safe.
She kept her revolver trained on the 2 wraiths, backpedaling toward the other door. Joe ran out into the crisp air. Riker watched their rear, but suddenly he screamed. Turning, Riker saw 2 figures on the other side of the threshold. One of them thrust a hand to Joe's chest, and she saw his entire body flare with bluish-white light. A halo billowed around him, and light poured from Joe's body into the dark being. Joe's body shook uncontrollably, his arms and legs spasming. Riker reached out to pull him away, but touching Joe's collar, electricity cut into her, throwing her off the back step and into the snow. She landed hard, losing her gun. A cry cut through the air and immediately died. Riker watched Joe's body drop to the snow like he had no bones left. The dark shape stood motionless, another next to it. The other 2 exited the back door, taking position beside the other 2. They silently faced Riker. A wind rolled through the backyard, and the black shapes faded like smoke caught in a breeze. In an eye blink, she lay alone in the backyard.
Damn.
Toddy spilled out the back door, a pistol in his good hand.
Where'd they go?
He asked.
Shit.
He added, looking down.
What the hell?
McCoy exited and headed her way.
Are you all right?
Riker managed to sit up, but her muscles tingled. Her fingers hurt. Looking down, she saw the end of her glove blackened. McCoy got her arms under her and pulled Riker to her feet.
Did one of them touch you?
No.
She said.
I grabbed Joe's shirt. Damn it, I think my hand is burned.
Lights shined around the corner of the house, and Riker heard the engine before she saw the truck. Neville bathed them in headlights, pulling up short. He left the engine running and jumped out, hefting a shotgun.
What happened?
He called.
Where'd they go?
Gone.
Toddy told him, gesturing toward Joe's corpse.
Is that it?
Riker asked McCoy.
Did they go back?
I don't know. Maybe, unless they went to find their symbols.
I doubt we'll find whomever Cheney sold them to. We'll have to have Command watch for similar deaths in Juneau.
Hannah, I need to find that tomb.
I don't want to tangle with those things again.
I know.
McCoy said.
I think we'll be safe if we don't take anything.
You think it was that? Or just entering which pissed them off?
I won't know until I find it and check it out. But I do want to find that place. There might be glyphs or records. At least I can copy down what's left of the symbols.
Riker sighed.
I want to get looked at first, Neville. Call this into command and get us some medical personnel. Toddy, how's your shoulder?
Dead weight. Hurts like hell too.
Melissa, let command do the diligence for us. They can send out recon on the area and hunt the place down. It's a big area. We can have Quincy and Janice put people on this. Pull in an entire research time if we need to.
I know,
She said.
sorry, I'll be as patient as I can until they find it.
You sure you want to know more about this business?
Riker asked.
I don't think we can afford not to after what happened tonight.
Riker nodded, considering McCoy's words.
All right, let's get moving. Neville, secure the perimeter. Toddy, keep an eye on our 6. We're not taking any chances.
This episode of Curse of the Ancients really drives home the dangers of uncovering ancient secrets. The team thought they were prepared, but the dark forces they encountered were beyond anything they had faced before. It's a reminder that some things are better left buried, and curiosity can come with a deadly price. If you're intrigued by ancient mysteries and want to dive deeper, check out the Project Threshold book series using the link in the description. And for more on our channel, click on the link to your left to watch It Walks, which follows the faith of Team Talise.